and kitchen classroom at Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School in Berkeley, California. The goal of the Edible Schoolyard is to promote nutrition and healthier eating as part of the curriculum in the school.
I couldn't understand sitting in the classroom and reading a book. I think you have to go out into the garden and dig in the dirt. When you grow your own food and when you cook it, you get to cook at a stove and you get to put in the spices you want to put in, and you make something that tastes good and you give it to your friends and your friends like it and they want to eat it. That's when you change your eating habits. You fall in love with the garden.
Which ancient civilization invented the wheel?
We have been able to weave together the curriculum of the school, the history, the science, the math.
That's it, what? Mesopotamian.
Each student attends 12 to 30 sessions a year in garden and kitchen classrooms.
Well, I think that the only way is to educate young people from the very beginning. We can only do that in a thorough way if we go into the public school system and we touch every single child.
Today, there's a network of edible schoolyards all over the United States. However, for schools that don't have access to a garden on school property, there are alternative ways students can learn while getting their hands dirty.
When we get strawberries from a plant, what are we eating? What part of the plant?
In Detroit, Michigan, nearby schools hold nutrition and gardening classes at a local park.
That beautiful strawberry that you had, nice and big and juicy and red and round, came from this thingy. That's the actual strawberry plant. It's right the beginning of it.
This is a 30-acre city park that is adjacent to 2 schools, 1 charter school and 1 public school, K through 5 now, going to K through 8. We have kindergartners through 5th graders who are involved in planting, first and foremost, everything. Every aspect of the garden they're involved with, planting, weeding, watering. Well, not so much watering because there's too many water fights.
Gets them in better physical shape, being out here in the open air, being physical, and then actually working in the garden too, learning about nutrition, learning about growing plants, and that will be something that sticks with them for the rest of their lives and then pass it on to their children. So it's a good pilot program or a good seed that could spread to other communities.
Another element in growing greener schools is how and what kinds of food are served in school lunch programs. Traditionally, schools rely on heavily processed fried food, much of which is prepared off-site. Nutrition experts feel this kind of fried processed food contributes to obesity and poor health among young people.
Fried food is like all oily and greasy, and that makes you like fatter.
At Middle School 137 in Queens, New York, you won't find any fried foods on their menus, but you will find some pretty amazing curry dishes that these kids are eating up.
Here, I've been coming home every day from like the first day of school and telling my mom I'm not hungry. She's just like, why? And I'm like, I had a very good lunch today. And she's usually amazed by the fact that I'm actually happy when I get home.
The staff here is cooking from scratch to get kids to eat healthier.
These are some onions that we marinated overnight in curry, turmeric, marinade. That's something that goes well here, that flavor profile, because we have a lot of kids from India and other Caribbean islands that's part of their food culture is curry and flavors like that.
This presents us a real opportunity to test recipes and products that really can focus in on different cultures.
There's a lot of cooking going on. The kitchen works very hard from 7:30 in the morning throughout the course of the day. We don't stop till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. To work this hard and not have the kids eat does not pay. And the kids need to be energized throughout the day.
They love salads. They love fresh vegetables. I really try my best. Just go that extra step, you know, to add an extra sauce or to add an extra spice that they would like.
It's really such a culturally rich city that we want to be part of that.
We were very lucky when we built our new LEED certified building that we were able to put in a state-of-the-art brand new kitchen where sous chef Cyril is preparing healthy, nutritious, organic, locally grown meals that we serve to over 400 kids a day. We also decided that we needed to have a cafeteria that would offer organic food that was nutritional and that was grown in farms that are probably within 100 miles of the school. In addition to having some compostable dishware, we have also decided to invest in having a full set of dishware that we actually wash at the end of every meal. Instead of simply having the old way of throwing everything in the trash heap, we've got a fabulous dishwasher system.
And we use a closed system from Ecolab that recycles the water over and over through the day, so that consequently we'll use maybe a 50th of the water that normally would be used in the dishwashing process.
So it's terrific, and it models to our students and all of our employees what we all ought to be doing as citizens.
The Prospect Sierra School, a private middle school in El Cerrito, California, is a green school where students recycle their lunch leftovers into compost with the help of some hungry little wigglers.
Last year when we were in 4th grade, we went through some trash and we found a ton of all these fruit and banana peelings and all this stuff we could just put in the worm bin.
People like put all their food scraps in the bin, and then we put them into here, and it turns into soil.
Santa Monica College in Santa Monica, California, makes its compost with an industrial-sized worm bin that comes with a fancy name.
This is our Vermitech machine. It actually houses 10,000 worms that consume about 500 pounds of pre-consumer food waste from our cafeteria. The worms eat the pre-consumer waste, break it down into worm castings. This can be used on our campus grounds for fertilizer and pesticide. This is a great way to reduce your waste bill and divert waste from going to landfill, both an economic and an environmental benefit.
Worms can't do everything, so everyone has to do their part to help the world.
I feel like I'm doing my part in recycling because I know that I'm helping the world and saving my environment, and I know that I'm not wasting it. I'm doing it in my daily routine, Monday to Friday, and I try to do it the same at home.
It's their earth, and having them do things starting with their lunch waste and recycling it will ultimately give them the skills and the tools and the passion to take action in the future.
I guess I'd take the lessons that I've learned from this school since kindergarten, because that's when we first got introduced to all these things. I'll take those lessons from this school and take it with me throughout my whole life.
I'm optimistic because of the fact that we've always looked to our young people to solve our problems. The history of this country has been one of innovativeness, and that innovation comes from people looking at things with a fresh eye. And that's what our students are very, very good at.
Santa Monica College is also part of the growing trend among colleges and universities to incorporate green practices into every aspect of the college experience.
At Santa Monica College, we are committed to greening the curriculum. The Environmental Affairs Committee is in the middle of a campaign to go department to department, encouraging people to incorporate ecological literacy into their existing curriculum.
A lot of focus is being made towards developing a lot of courses that align with the trends that relate to that whole environmental green tech sector.
We are designing a course that will be of general interest, not just to people in the automotive field, but also to other students who might be interested in how do these hybrid technology vehicles operate? What is the principle behind biofuels?
We have committed to a mission of global citizenship, including a new graduation requirement that's called the Global Citizenship Requirement. So we are working to institutionalize in the academic setting ecological literacy, environmental awareness, and understanding of what's going on with the planet. This year we're working on the water theme. So for example, in a chemistry class, there might be an extra lesson where we look at the amazing chemical properties of water. In an English class, they might take a look at Chinatown and talk about the social and political issues in the Los Angeles area that are revealed in that film. In my philosophy class, what we're doing is we're talking about water as a sacred element and why the ancients saw water as so central to understanding metaphysical reality, and the moderns not so much. We're also having a debate in my political theory class about whether water ought to be seen as a commodity or a human right. So these are just some ways that we're trying to incorporate water into the curriculum.
to live sustainably, you have to live in this generation in such a way that you don't compromise the ability of the next generation. When you think about what that means from a school's point of view, that's very hard work. That's changing the way teachers think, it's changing the way students think. It's moving from a frame of mind that says we as humans are detached or even above nature to one that says we're part of an ecological system. That is very hard work because that comes from the heart, it comes from inside your head and inside your beliefs, and that is a comprehensive way of looking at the world, and it's very difficult.
Always in the vanguard, Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, strives in a variety of ways to reduce its carbon footprint through the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan. Here, students canvass the campus as part of the Dorm Room Greenover program.
Hi, Jasmine. We see that you signed up for a Dorm Room Greenover, and we're here to just make your room more environmentally friendly, and we brought you a housewarming gift.
Great, thank you.
One of the major things I'm working on right now with all of the schools and units is to implement our greenhouse gas reduction plan.
So a really important thing is recycling and just making sure you know what single stream recycling is. Do you have a sense of what that means?
We're doing a Dorm Room Greenover, which seeks to make Harvard rooms more environmentally friendly and build a bond between Harvard environmental representatives and students. We have temperature gauges that you can put in your room, which these will read the temperature every 15 minutes all day. And we can leave it in your room for 2 weeks, and then we plug it into the computer, and it gives us a graph of where the temperature is in your room.
That way we can have a sense of what the temperature is in rooms all throughout the house, and then you can go back to the super's office and they can make adjustments according to where the house needs to be too hot and too cold. So the next step is lights.
We offer these for free, but even if you were to pay for them, they would more than pay for themselves over their lifetime because they last so much longer.
Bye.
This commitment to innovation and sustainability extends into all campus services.
This is one of the dining halls at Harvard where we serve over 900 meals a day. One of the high points here is that we compost all of our pre- and post-consumer waste. Let me show you. Well, in the old kitchen, this was the biggest water user that we had, this scrapping trough. Now, the food gets ground up and brought in a slurry out to an extractor point where it's deodorized and most of the liquid's extracted from the waste. 80% of that water comes back through the system. So we're saving water and we have the waste ready for composting.
We're composting all of our organic waste, which we're diverting 400 tons of organic waste from going to off-campus composting facilities, and we compost it in-house, and we utilize these products into our program, which is, it's really exciting.
Composting is the heart of the program. So what we're in essence doing is mimicking nature. We're taking that material that's coming out of the landscape, we're then composting it and then putting it back in the proper places.
At the center of this program is the use of compost tea, a liquid solution made by steeping compost in water.
What is really important is to have a brewmaster, and we have Kieran Klein here, who is the Harvard brewmaster. Right now, we're dechlorinating the water before we put the organic compost into the medium. This is a fungally dominant compost. We're also mixing in a bit of a bacterially dominant compost. Finally, for diversity, we're utilizing a vermicompost. We're now inserting this pipe into the compost, which is actually an air diffuser, which also further helps to coax the organisms off of the compost and into the water solution. We're now going to add various foods for the beneficial organisms. Looks like we're getting a good brew here, Karen. There you have it. This is a compost tea. Bon appetit.
Once brewed, the compost tea is then applied to the landscape.
This is a good example of what we found 6 weeks after starting our pilot project. It would have been a core sample from the test plot. We have 6 to 8 inches of root growth, and at this point would have not received any fertilizer, just compost teas. This is our control, which would have received, the standard high nitrogen fertilizer applications. So simply by encouraging the natural nutrient cycling systems, we've been able to get considerable beneficial landscape results. But we're just a stepping stone. What we're looking for are the young kids who are working here on a lot of this research. Perhaps we've provided a little pedestal which they can step up and take this a lot further. We need to really get people behind this, and it's all in the education aspect of it.
School facilities and infrastructure not only nurture learning, but contribute directly to the health and well-being of students and their teachers. That's why schools and universities are embracing green design for new or retrofitted facilities. Some argue green construction is an unnecessary, risky expense for our financially pressed national education program. Others claim that implementing green design and retrofitting will actually save money. You be the judge.
4 or 5 years ago, you might have said this is a bit risky, there's some new design approaches involved. Today, you'd have to say there's so many green buildings out there and so many green design professionals that the risk has gone away from green design strategy. But the risk of not doing green, not doing healthy, has become much larger. After all, these are buildings that are going to last for 50 years. There was a school in North Carolina, for example. They moved from 2 old schools that were poorly designed into 1 green school. Same students, same teachers, same curriculum, no changes. On standardized tests, they went from 60% meeting standardized tests to 80%. For the several years before they were at 60%, the several years after they were at 80%. The only change was the school, and when you talk to the school principals, they will tell you that was entirely because they moved to a green school. Lighting quality was better, temperature quality was better, ventilation was better, kids were able to focus longer, you had less sick days, and as a result, the kids did better on measurable standardized tests. I've got 3 children, one of them has allergy problems. 1 out of 10 kids got respiratory problems, either allergy or asthma. So clearly, if you design a school that is going to be healthier for those kids, they're going to have less sick days. That has an impact on their ability to learn, on their test scores, over their lifetime earnings, and affects the quality of the school as well. The question is no longer, why would you design green? What the data tells us is the question is, why would you deliberately design an unhealthy, inefficient school when we know that it pays back many times over to go green in your design?
One of the things you do when you go through the greening process is you're saving energy. Saving energy is a direct cost saving.
In designing a ground-up green school, architects like Roland Wiley consider site selection and planning to be the most critical elements to the overall success or failure of a green school. Before ground can be broken, there are many critical decisions to be made, such as which way to orient a building, where to put play areas, where to position travel ways and parking, where even to put the windows.
The most important part of the design of the building is the site planning, because that is the time when you get to take advantage of the natural features of the site, the sun orientation, to be able to take advantage of natural light, the prevailing winds, to be able to use the wind for cooling, how the site slopes so that you don't locate the building in a floodplain or at the bottom of a large sloped area.
During the construction or deconstruction of a school, hundreds of opportunities exist to work towards fulfilling the environmental goals of a green school.
There is a lot of energy spent in demolishing a building. You've got all of these good materials in many cases that simply get torn into a pile of rubble, hauled off into a landfill. So then you can spend more energy buying new materials to build in that same spot. We need to give much higher consideration to existing buildings, although they may not fit exactly what you had in mind in your programmatic needs. But looking at the benefit of saving that building, saving materials, saving our carbon footprint, saving some of these landfills, there's a tremendous value there that needs to be calculated in your decision process of whether or not you're going to tear down a building.
An average building has about a 30% recycling or construction and waste separation and reuse. Green buildings and schools are more than twice that on average. So they'll have separate bins for wood materials, for glass, for metal, for all these other components that get separated out on site. Green schools typically will reuse a lot more, so they might take old floorboards and repurpose them.
Louisville Middle School was originally constructed in the 1930s. During its remodel recently, a portion of the building was deconstructed and a portion of those materials were set aside and reused in the new construction. A good example of that are the bricks that are here in front of us. These bricks were deconstructed in the old part of the building. They were cleaned, put aside, and then reused in the new construction. It doesn't take much to incorporate some of the things that are more sustainable in our operation.
We're using recycled steel in the studs that support our walls. We're using fly ash in our concrete. Fly ash is 100% post-consumer recycled content, which helps the concrete bind together better, which avoids us having to use more expensive materials and also those materials that are not recyclable in our flooring.
This was a typical school, but it's not anymore. Typical in that it was almost all completely asphalt. Every time it rained, it flooded. In fact, water washed off the roof, ran down the spaces on the asphalt between the classrooms all the way to one storm drain. We were able to take out the asphalt between every single row of classrooms and put in a meandering forest ecosystem, a swale. The water that flows out of the swales makes its way down here where it's captured by trees and drains. From the drains, it goes through filters and into this area underground. It's a cistern, it's a tank, 120,000 gallons supplying water for the whole campus. We have a new water supply for the city, a new source of flood protection and pollution protection. It's pretty incredible.
When people visit green schools, one of the first things they typically say is, wow, the light in here is great. And a green school design typically involves thinking very, very carefully about lighting. People always want to sit in the corner office. They always want to sit in the perimeter of the building. We are drawn toward natural light because it's the light that, as humans, we grew up with. It's the most comfortable. It's the highest quality. It's easiest to read under.
The Maywood Academy High School in Los Angeles has incorporated solar tubes to reduce their needs for electric light.
The lights above us may look like they're powered by electricity, but they're not. They're actually powered by the sun. They're magnifying the sunlight into our hallways, almost eliminating the need for electrical lighting.
Daylighting can also translate into higher performance in school. Research has shown children achieve significantly higher test scores in classrooms that are daylit than those that use conventional lighting, making daylighting one of the best building-related investments for the learning environment.
On average, each green school saved about $100,000 off of the traditional school, either building or renovation project. That kind of savings can be put into hiring a couple of new teachers. It can be put into purchasing new computers. It can be put into buying textbooks for the classroom. But it's not wasted in energy that's just evaporating.
Lakeland Community College in Kirkland, Ohio, took a close look at their antiquated energy systems to find ways that they could save money by becoming more energy efficient.
We knew that energy prices were really going to escalate. We wound up having a comprehensive evaluation of our energy practices and came up with a master plan that made economic sense, but really is very green.
Prior to this project, typical cold Ohio day, we would run 11 boilers on our main campus, serviced by 25 50 horsepower pumps. We are now down to 4 boilers and 2 pumps. Interconnecting the buildings with a heating and cooling system loop has enabled great efficiencies for us. The technology is not difficult, the engineering is sound, the savings are fantastic.
This student center carries a lot of activity during the week, and as you can see behind me, we have a huge bank of windows that let in a lot of natural daylight. That daylight triggers energy sensors, which turns off our lamps in this building, creating significant energy efficiencies. Our electricity at Lakeland has been reduced by 46% in this past year, in part to these efforts. Our latest example is our T-building roof, where we've really super insulated it and also put an Energy Star white reflective coating. So during the summer, you're not going to get the heat intensity on that roof. That roof is going to generate us probably $20,000 annually in energy savings. This college generated about 28 million pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Just in this year alone, we've been able to drop that by about 40%. And what this energy conservation project has given Lakeland a $550,000 benefit in energy savings.
When I hear administrators say, well, we don't have it in the budget, I said, but you have it in the budget to throw it away, but you don't have it in the budget to save it for the future.
Other sources of renewable energy include wind and geothermal. Wind energy systems harness the power of wind to generate electricity. Geothermal heat pumps take advantage of the constant temperature beneath the earth to heat and cool buildings. Not only does this save energy and money, it also reduces air pollution. Manhattan Middle School in Boulder, Colorado, added a solar panel array on their roof that's saving the school thousands of dollars in energy costs.
Well, a renewable option for both retrofitted schools and new construction is the use of photovoltaic cells. The cell system that you see here is a 9.8 kilowatt system, which approximately can reach up to 25% of the electrical needs of this school. Photovoltaic cells are easy to install and easy to maintain. Essentially, they're plug-in systems. You can put them anywhere and move them at any point in time, add to them whenever you need to.
A green school will use as little energy as possible. It will be efficient. It will be well insulated. It will have high performance windows and doors. It will have efficient boilers and furnaces, or even geothermal pumps. So you're using very little energy, and then the source of that energy should be as clean as possible. So possibly solar panels or even a wind turbine in the back.
I'm hoping that the day will come that that is just how a school building is built, or that is how that addition is put on, or that is how an existing building is retrofitted. That the idea of green is just the mainstream. It's just how you think about a school building. It's an important thing for our kids, and that is just how we build our schools.
When you start to look at the fact that in a green school, based on the daylight, the air quality, the non-toxic materials, the acoustics, the kids maybe for the first time have the ability to have a real connection with their teacher. That results in higher grades, that results in higher self-esteem, and ultimately we start to graduate generations of children that really feel centered in the world that they live in.
A student could go to school in a green building and have no idea, have no way to connect the building to the environment or to their life. That's where the curriculum comes in. It's great to be able to put light bulbs in or to have a green roof, but if that is not part of the curriculum, it's almost as if a tree is falling in the woods and you can't hear it.
Placing our students in a healthy green environment while giving them an understanding and appreciation for sustainable principles will have little lasting impact if their education doesn't prepare them for the world beyond their LEED certified schoolrooms.
Green schools also help create a 21st century workforce. They do that by educating students on the balance between economics and the environment. That's just another fancy way of saying sustainability. So what we're doing is educating our students to not only have the knowledge base necessary to work and think in a global green economy, but also the skills.
A lot of times when we talk about the green economy and the green future, people start getting way out there and thinking about Buck Rogers jobs and science fiction stuff, and 1,000 years from now, cities bubbles, and I don't know what they think about. That's not what we're talking about. In the first round of the green economy, the big high-tech fancy tool will be a caulk gun,
Right now, especially in the energy field, 50% of the current people in that industry are eligible to retire. Are we training students to take those jobs that are and will become available?
They were using energy without taking it off the grid, without using a source outside of what they could produce for themselves.
And it was also showing how much energy they was taking in as well.
Correct.
Primarily a trade school in Washington, D.C., the Phelps Architecture, Construction, and Engineering High School prepares students with the skills needed for green careers.
Let me say something about the demographics here. We're a Title I school. That means at least 62% of our students are eligible for free lunch. If I told you that recycling, green, this concept of LEED was the #1 thing on their minds when they walked into the school, I would not be telling the truth. It was not. They live in communities. They are very much under siege, and that's just not a priority for them. So this is a different way for our students to think about the world. But this is good for them because it allows them to in some way transcend their own experience that they go through every day and think about their city, their country and the planet in a very different way. Well, one of the challenges we found in making our curriculum, quote unquote, green, was that there was no curriculum before us in the city, so we had to create our own. We created a curriculum committee consisting of lead architects, engineers, technicians, curriculum specialists from around the country to help us design a curriculum not just for our focus specialty areas like architecture and engineering, but how do we weave this curriculum throughout the 4-year experience of a student in this school. The traditional HVAC teacher would not know about solar, would not know about geothermal, would not know about wind power. So those teachers actually had to go back to class and learn how to teach those topics. The architectural landscape project in this school is landscape for our school campus. So they are responsible for creating a landscape using rainwater that we collect from the roof. We have a rainwater collection project, and they are part of, and that becomes part of learning about biology, about botany, but also it becomes part of our creating a beautiful campus. We don't have another planet, it's not getting any larger, so we need students who could do both the kind of science and technology that would allow them to get jobs and become employed and to do all those other good things.
I came to Phelps because it was a new school that had many opportunities, and they had architecture, which interested me. So when I grow up, I want to be an architect.
I came to Phelps to start a better life for me and my family, as in for college reasons.
I came to this school to study for engineering. It's important to me because I like creating things, and I think it's a challenge for me.
So we're looking at making them, you're right, green technologists.
In the fairy tale, Rumpelstiltskin spins straw into gold. Today, those involved in growing greener schools are taking a very challenging situation, a global environment in crisis, and spinning this potential natural disaster into an opportunity. Here's a chance for young people and their teachers to acquire the skills necessary to meet this looming challenge head-on, with a personal self-awareness, so that they as individuals and members of society can make a positive and lasting impact. An impact on this ever-so-fragile planet we call home. The Growing Greener Schools initiative is a vital and affirming step in preparing young people for the heady responsibility of truly becoming architects of their own future and that of the world.
Green schools is really a solution to so many issues that start with economic, move into environmental, and certainly end up with the last but not least, most important, which is the human side of the equation.
If we are only teaching children to fulfill careers that exist now, they will be out of work as adults. We need instead to help children have the skills that are transferable to the future opportunities that are available.
At the end of the day, I want to feel that I have exposed my students to a different way of looking at the world, a different way of looking at the planet, where they actually become actors and caretakers for the planet. That's a different student. That's not saying I'm just going to school to learn something that I'll use later. I'm using it now, right in my school, every day.
A sense of accomplishment. I feel wonderful at the end of the day. Even with the challenges that we're faced with, the storms that may come our way, there may be individuals coming that may disrupt our process and our progress. But at the end of the day, when we've done our best by those that we are entrusted with, then I feel wonderful. I sleep at night.
Churchill once famously said, we design our buildings and then our buildings shape our lives. The return back to more intelligent, more green design, less wasteful design is really a return to our roots.
It's an incredible opportunity, I think, to educate folks and to also change a culture and change the way we work. I mean, with a projected 9 billion, people that are going to be on the planet, by mid-century, we really need to change the way that we work and live.
Nothing's more important. I used to tell my kids when they were little that school is like work for kids. So when you think about how much time children spend in school, we want that to be a healthy environment.
When I'm looking at a green school curriculum, what I'm looking at are real-world problems that there's no answer in the back of the teacher's edition. We don't have the answers. The Pulitzer Prize winner is sitting in our classroom. So how do we prepare that child to be able to win that award?
I think that's amazing that youth can actually now have a voice and actually inspire people to better themselves and the world.
So you cannot have a green America if you don't have green schools. And you can't have a green world if you don't have a green America. So I think that starting where the next generation is learning about what is important and making sure that their experience from the moment they walk in the door teaches them the value of this earth that they are inheriting and teaches them the value of their own health and build around them the kinds of healthy educational systems that will put them on a trajectory to having healthy lives and making America a healthier country.
To learn more about growing greener schools, please visit our website or call this number.
Major underwriting was made possible by Siemens. With 69,000 employees in all 50 states, Siemens is committed to answering America's toughest questions. More information at siemens.com/answers. Growing Greener Schools is available on DVD to educators and educational institutions. To order, visit shoppbs.org/education or call us at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.
Hi, I'm Ann Police. Stay tuned for today's news from Orange County on Real Orange. Expand your mind with KOCE, your PBS.
The better educated you are, the better choices you'll make. Government is broke, business is broke, you're on your own. You want to have free and clear money.
Ed Slott, America's leading expert on retirement savings and taxation, is here to help with clear step-by-step advice on growing and protecting your money in turbulent times so you can stay rich for life.
Saturday morning at 11 on KOCE.
The OC channel is the next generation of PBS, and it is an outlet for the next generation of filmmakers right here at Chapman University. Our faculty and students have the opportunity to use the cutting-edge tools at Chapman to put together television programs that are important to the OC community.
This is incredible.
They are programs about politics, health, the economy, and the movers and shakers that drive Orange County.
And to represent the people of California.
And they are the films that steer our souls, inspire us, entertain us, and change us. My name is Jim Doty, and the OC channel is my source for great television produced by young minds right here in Orange County.
Everything OC, the Orange County Channel, a service of KOCE-TV and Chapman University. Watch the OC channel now on Digital Channel 50.2, Cox Cable Channel 810, Verizon Fios Channel 470, and Time Warner Channel 235. More information at occhannel.org.